These videos have four purposes. One, they are walking in the country to get me fit. My fitness has suffered in the last couple of years. I'm not going to take it lying down. Two, to try and convey to you what I feel about the landscape, how beautiful and grand it is. Three, to put back those lost landmarks, those ancient names that littered every parish in the country, to put them back on the map. And four, to show you those antiquities in our wastes and in our woods, those earthworks, what their names are and what they did. And to do that, I need to show maps. Now, I've been remiss in the last couple of videos. I haven't shown you, of all the things that I've described to you, I haven't shown you where they are. So this video is about correcting that. Central to this discussion is Grovely Wood, which was a royal forest in the medieval period. But you can see beneath the woods in certain places what are clearly enclosures and field systems. So it wasn't necessarily always wooded. It was certainly cleared, I would argue, in the Iron Age. But the forest itself goes back at least to the Anglo-Saxon period and is still today a very large area of woodland within the English landscape. Wood doesn't feed people, though it does keep them warm and builds their houses. So woodland has been cleared. It has been a process since the Bronze Age of clearing woodland. But the royal prestige, the royal desire to hunt has been to show that power, has meant that in certain places forests have been retained, have been jealously guarded by monarchs. That jealous guarding has meant that antiquities have survived really well, and you'll see that in places like Cranbourne Chase as well. Cranbourne Chase is one of those amazing places full of antiquities. But there are some in Grovely Wood as well. Which brings us to why Grovely Wood is called Grovely Wood. The English Place Name Society doesn't seem to have an opinion on it. It might be because I'm using the online version rather than actually reading their books. Ekwall, however, does. And rather than thinking of it as the Grovely Wood, Grovely Forest, he argues that it comes from graven, to engrave, and he points out the Roman road that runs through the middle of the forest. What he didn't mention was Grimsditch, and this too runs through the middle of the forest, and is, by any stretch of the word, what you would describe as an engraving. I can't find any bank on any dike on the Grimsditch. It must have been the earth thrown up by digging the ditch, must have been spread out. But therefore it seems to be not a fortification that guards against outsiders rather than a demarcation. This engraving of the land is recorded in the name of the forest, according to Ekwall, and I'm quite excited to. It's again one of those, because he didn't really know what he was the interesting landmarks within this forest, because he didn't know them properly. It makes it all the more remarkable that he's emphatic that it is engraving, graven. And that makes it, I nearly fell off my chair finding this out. It is Grimsditch is a significant monument that goes on for miles and miles and miles beyond the forest. And it is shadowed by the Roman road. That obviously, like all Roman roads, it goes straight, and like these dikes and ditches, they go all wobbly in a wobbly line. It is for this reason that I think this ditch may be Bronze Age or Iron Age, but it is also the situation we see in Oxfordshire. We see boundaries that are Roman that are all wobbly as well, so they could well be Roman themselves. But it is very old. They are recorded in the Anglo-Saxon charters of the area, and there are quite a few of them, and several forest perambulations from the Middle Ages, and parish perambulations as well, tell us so much about this. It all cross-references beautifully. I hope I've conveyed some of that in my previous videos in this area. But it is, I think the Grimsditch its course is older than Roman, I think. And I think the relationship between the Roman road and the ditch is a sort of communication along a boundary, if you see what I mean, but in the mathematical engineering style of the Romans. But Grimsditch is not a war monument like the Wansdyke could potentially have been, or Bokeley Dyke. It is a demarcation. You do have warlike objects, monuments here. There are Iron Age hill forts here. There are quite a few of them, in fact, and enclosures within the woods. And around one of the Iron Age hill forts, there is quite a village or settlement around it, showing it was an important place. Grimsditch is very clear, even though it's older than the Roman road. The Roman road is less clear, and I had great difficulty finding it in person with my own eyes, though I could see there was an undulation. But on LiDAR, it is absolutely clear. Not necessarily definitely a Roman road, it needs to be dug. But there is a straight hump that travels for miles in a straight line across the landscape and through this wood. It is marked on the OS map as a Roman road, but the LiDAR shows it deviates from the line on the OS map. That line eastward, once it leaves the forest, there is no trace of it, though it points, theoretically, as a crow flies to Old Sarum, which is an Iron Age hill fort and medieval place in the landscape next to the Avon, just above Salisbury, which was Sorvio Dunham in Latin, well, in British. Incidentally, that Sorvio part might have been the original name for the Avon. There is an Irish word which means gentle. Tentatively, scholars think that the Avon that goes up north to Stonehenge from Salisbury is something like Sarv or Sarb or Serb, something like that. And that's something I didn't discover until I went deep into the English Place Name Society website looking for it. There is also a British river name, the River Till, probably. The River Till is probably a British Celtic word similar to a one in Gaul, and also in the north of England. But it is today, it probably in the Anglo-Saxon period, it was probably the Winterbourne, because there are villages called the Winterbourne along it. But westward from Groveley Wood, the Roman road, we think, goes to Mendip to go and collect all the lead from Mendip and take it down to the south coast. There are plenty of traces of it to to the west, but to the east, I can't find anything on LiDAR, and I can't find anything in the scholarship, in the record. There is also the Ox Drove, which we were talking about. That's south of the Roman road, south of the wood. It is not on the ridge. It goes through a valley, which is interesting. We've made the point before, and other people have made the point that droves are above spring lines, that even the depths of winter, after a very wet winter, that valley was dry as a bone. So what's going on there, I can't. Obviously, they knew their landscape much better than I do, and it is a good way to get where they wanted to go, which was the easiest route up to the Ridgeway, and then it goes along to Mere, as the forest perambulation said it would. But the Roman road, the Ox Drove, the Ridge, they all meet together at the same point, which in the forest perambulation is called the Via Regia, which is the Royal Road, and that goes from the river, the village of Wylye, down past Dinton. And that's another nice little thing you don't see on maps. It's hidden within. It's quite clear that this is it. This is that road from the medieval forest perambulation. And in the forest perambulations, there are other royal roads as well. So it's an interesting place with crisscrossing antiquities that, probably because of royal involvement, the preventing of people from ploughing the land or managing it the way they wanted to manage it, is probably that royal involvement that stopped all of these antiquities from disappearing. Which is a lesson for us. No matter how angry you get towards the National Trust, English Heritage, and the Wildlife Trust for for trying to remove humans from their landscapes, they still preserve it. They still conserve it. So again, we have to balance our anger with acknowledgement that they did a good job. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see more, the godless algorithm thinks you should watch this one next. There is also this over here that you might like to see. And please subscribe if you haven't done already. I enjoy reading and answering comments, so please go ahead if that's something you would like to do. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Ta-da for now.